Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host, your friend, your coach. I have a new, great guest here today. My new good friend, Dr. Linda Duong, coachable founder. She's we got connected to one of my clients and dearest friend in the UK, Christine Lester, and she asked me, "You need to speak to Linda." I said, "Okay, let's speak to Linda." Especially knowing that I'm based in Vietnam and she's originally from Vietnam, now living in Australia. So we had a good chat a couple of weeks ago, another chat last week. In a nutshell, she's an author. She has a book published in 2017, Connection, the Currency to Happiness. And she's also, just like me, a fellow polyglot. She speaks a few languages: Japanese, Cantonese, Mandarin, Vietnamese, and English as well. No, English is amazing. I'm just joking. No, she speaks perfect English. And yeah, she's a founder. She's a serial entrepreneur. She has built many businesses. The current one, the latest one is called Coachable. And the Three Hearts, a big passion of hers. And as she coined herself, she's been an accidental founder. So opportunities tend to fall in her laps, and she's an action taker. She just runs with it, and that's what we're gonna be here today to unpack all that story. So Linda, Xin Chao, welcome to the show, my friend.
Ciao. It's amazing that you're in Vietnam. I can't
I
believe
know.
this.
Well, this is what this beautiful world is about. You could be anywhere, and to technology, we can be connected. Like I'm in Da Nang, Vietnam, you're in Australia.
I know.
So yeah, it's beautiful. So how are you today?
I am feeling wonderful. The fact that we get to connect is amazing. It's magical.
Yes, indeed.
You are connecting with me from my homeland. How about that?
How about that? Indeed, that's a great question. I love it. I love it. So we're gonna talk about your business and all that good stuff. But first, I want to know, and my audience wants to know, who's Linda as a person, as a human being, and as a woman?
Well, Linda currently is a mom of two amazing kids.
Mm-hmm.
As a person, I grew up with a flaw of this over surpass of compassion.
Mm.
So I used to just be in tears so easily out of joy, out of sadness, out of touching moments. That's me, and it's what makes me who I am today, and it's what causes me to publish the book because of two kids who took their own life due to cyberbullying. It's because of that got me to launch Three Hearts to serve, especially during COVID. We really help people stay connected. And as an extension of that, now I launch Coachable. But before all of that, I also started link coaching as a coach since 2016. But before that, I was actually coaching people all my life through my bridal workshop, through my travel in travel days. I was a
Wow.
travel consultant. I traveled the world. I've been to Alaska 28 years ago. Time flies.
Wow. Yeah.
So I was always helping people on the go. Whenever people want to talk to Linda, I would be listening. Whenever they ask for help, I would always help. And I just never knew that it's called life coaching. And
Mm.
when I had my bridal business, the brides would say, Linda, I want to start a business too, but I don't know how to. And I would be just helping them there and then. And I didn't know it's called business coaching
Wow.
until finally in 2016, I discovered, oh, this is what I've been doing all my life. So then I flew to America, to San Diego, to officially train as a life coach and come back Sydney in 2016, start my link coaching business as a parenting coach for your gifted kids. So, and all the parents who have smart kids,
Awesome.
and that's another journey I have with my children. But yeah, that's the whole shebang in one go.
Oh, I like that. I like that. We're gonna unpack all of that. So first thing I want to, after that, I'd like to ask you a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you. Ready?
Okay, ready as I can be.
All right.
Don't know what you have in it for me yet, but I'm
Ooh,
ready.
you don't want to know. I'm joking. All right, tell us what makes you happy.
Oh, what makes happy? Some friends think I'm crazy, but learning makes me happy.
Mm,
So every day I will be learning something new. And often on podcasts like this, I would be asked, Linda, what is the first thing that we could do to be happy straight away? I would say, learn something new. But truthfully, any weekend that my family is out of the house and I have the house to myself, the first thing I get to do is deep dive into learning
Mm.
whatever I feel like learning. And it makes me the most happy moment.
Beautiful. Love that.
And
Love
then
that.
the next thing is connecting with nature. Everybody who knows Linda knows I love connecting with nature and the beach.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, what makes you smile?
Oh, what makes me smile? A lot of things. Flowers, bird, nature.
Mm.
The minute I see nature, it's just the most joyful thing. And
Mm.
in fact, I share in the book that it's through nature that we can access our true joy.
Love that.
I barely use the word happiness, even though my book is about happiness. But inner joy and true joy is the real joy to happiness.
I love that. I love that. Speaking of that, what makes your heart sing? What sets your soul on fire?
Ah, when I see a baby giggling and
Mm.
their eyes are connecting, that's when you forget everything. And that's when you feel liveliness. And that's when you feel that everything you do is worthwhile, whether it's your baby or other people's baby, because
Mm.
it's about life itself. It's a continuum of evolution. It's the
Sure.
future generations. It reminds me of everything we do, why we do what we do, right?
Mm.
Every single parents, we work so hard. What for? For the kids,
Mm.
right? And for the people who don't have children, everything they do is for the future generation.
Mm.
Whether you admit it or not, whether you realize it or not, everything we do is not just here now. It has repercussions and impacts and for generations to come,
Mm.
right?
Absolutely.
So it's when the babies are cooing, giggling, and looking at me and eye contact. I love it when the baby look at me with eye contact.
Mm. I love that. I love that. I can picture that. Wow. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what makes you sad and angry?
Ah, I feel it right away already.
Mm.
It's the opposite of the act of kindness.
Mm.
Yeah, it's too many, right? So let's not go there. Let's stay positive.
I'm
I
with
rather
you.
talk about I'd rather talk about the positive thing that can share a smile, can
Sure.
share a thought of hope or
Mm.
inspiration
Mm.
than any of those. I think many of us can get sad and upset easily, right? With many things these days. So
Yes, yes.
I don't go there often. I try not to
Good.
think about it often. I
Yeah.
try to stay in the positive realm
Mhm.
wherever possible. Yeah.
I'm completely with you. That's why I cut off.
Mm.
One of the best decisions I've made was completely stop watching the news 7, 8 years
Mm.
ago.
Oh, I never watch news. I never
Nothing,
watch
there's
news.
nothing good about
It's
news. When was the last time you saw something that inspired you, made you happy? No, it's all about, bringing you down, making you stay in a state of fear and all that nonsense. So, yeah, I'm with
mm.
you. Now, tell us what scares you.
Ew, what scares me. I was gonna say creepy crawlies,
And
but
you being in
apart from
Australia,
that,
you have plenty of those, huh?
all right, right? The spider is like the size of the palm, right?
Wow.
You notice I haven't said crocodile.
Wait, you have crocodiles around you too?
Not right around me, but in Australia, of course, right? Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
What scares me is actually the mind
Mm,
of an unstable, ill mind. I think that's
mm,
what scares me
mm.
because the mind has incredible power, both positive and negative.
Sure.
And so then, therefore, we need to work very hard every single day, every single moment on our mind. And so I often share in the talks, in my book, in my kids, about thinking about their thinking. We need to be always thinking about the thinking.
Mm,
It's called meta connection. I share that in the book. If you just think about what you're doing, that's already enough to make you a smarter person.
wow. I like that.
Just think about what you're doing. It's enough to make you a smarter person. Ask yourself, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? How can I make it better? These are my three wise guys. It will serve you right through your life. It doesn't matter whether you're the president, you're the prime minister, the king, the queen, the princess. Doesn't matter whether you're parents, students. Keep asking those three questions. It will serve you well.
What are those three questions again?
What are you doing? The minute you ask yourself what you're doing, it's my quickest, shortest way of bringing you in the present moment, practicing your mindfulness.
Mm.
You know, the second one is, why are you doing what you're doing?
Mm.
The why literally bring you back to your present moment, understanding the meaning behind things, the intention, and that definitely bring you back in the present moment for sure.
So I'm writing those down. So what are you doing? Why are you?
Why are you doing it?
And the last one?
How can I do it better? How can you make
Ah,
it better? How can you do things better? Whatever project you're working on.
love that.
It doesn't matter if you're dating, being with the kids, you know, having fun, working on a project, whatever, how big, so small size, whatever size,
Mm.
doesn't matter. How can I make it better? Will always make you a better person.
I absolutely love that. So much that I wrote them down. I'm going to use them myself. Thank you. That's what I love, learning new things from, because we can all learn from each other. So thank you. Thank you for sharing
That's
that.
right.
Yeah, wow. Beautiful. Love that. Now, what would you say is your number one personal superpower?
It would be my compassion. It's
Mm,
my flaw, but it's also my strength. It's my weakness, but it's also my strength.
I hear you. Yeah.
So when I was growing up, I was often told that you're too sensitive. I would, like I shared this in the book, I would look at someone in a wheelchair and I would feel their pain before they feel it. And there are certain situations I would just be in tears.
Mm,
So growing up, it didn't serve me well because I didn't know how to use its benefit or the power, right? Because I it get when someone keeps saying that, oh, you're too sensitive, it gave me a wrong self-image. I keep thinking that, oh, I'm really weak because that's why I cry easily. But throughout COVID, throughout the Three Hearts journey, all my community members know that Linda cries so easily. I cry out of joy. I cry out of sadness. I cry out of compassion. And so I have learned through my children, through the journey of being a mom, through my children, through the gifted education journey, I have learned that that's also my strength and it's also my gift. And so then I literally have turned my mess into my power.
love
I
that.
embrace, thank you. I embrace my flaw and turn it into my strength. And that's why, you know, during COVID, I was nicknamed as the Queen of Hearts because of Three Hearts vision and mission.
I love that. I can relate with that too because what you describe is what an empath is about. I also
Yes,
feel the pain of people when I see a beggar on the street. You know, it breaks my heart. I always have a prayer for them, for the people that are really having a hard time. I always pray for them, and it really breaks
yes.
my heart. So yes, I completely relate with that. Yes, beautiful
And the
thing.
reason why I grew up with such
Mm,
compassion is because I was born at the end of the Vietnam War,
mm,
right? And when you grow up in an environment where people suffer, you know, when we're talking about the war, when the Ukraine war started for
mm.
about 8 months, everyone going, oh my God, that's so long. But this war in Vietnam didn't go on for 1 year, 2, 3 years, or 10 years. It was 30 years long. 30 years long. So you could imagine the stories that I hear as I'm
Yes.
growing up, right? So that's why growing up, I was like on my knees with my mom every single night, on my knees praying for world peace. And when that kind of leadership was imprinted in me, in my DNA, it just literally defined who I am since the age
Mm.
of 5. Every
Wow.
night, at 5 years old, every single night, exactly 7 p.m., my mom and I would be on our knees praying for world peace. And so that's the background story to why I have this surplus of
Mm,
compassion growing up. Yes,
absolutely love that. Love that. Thank you. That's beautiful. Speaking of that, let's talk about you love traveling, don't you?
I do. I do.
We can do an entire episode just on traveling. We may do that another time, but today I want to take you down another type of traveling down memory line.
Okay.
So go back to when you were growing up. You know, when we're kids, people around us, family, relatives, neighbors, teachers, friends always ask us, "Hey, Linda, what do you want to become when you grow up?" What was the answer to that as a little girl?
Okay. Let me share something before I answer
Please.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't have an answer. The reason being is that for children these days, they are very lucky.
Mm,
They're lucky and not lucky in a sense. Okay. They're lucky because they have all these resources and people will be asking, what do you want to be when you grow up? So lucky in a sense that you get the education, you get the introduction, you get the paved way.
mm-hmm.
Unlucky in a sense that some children could grow up with expectations and pressure. That's the unlucky side.
Tell me about it.
Whereas for me, we didn't have that kind of language.
Mm,
Now remember, back then it was survival. Everything is about survival. There's no chance, no time to talk about dreams. There's no such luxury. There's no
mm,
such luxury as, what dream do you want to create when you grow up? It was all about survival. I didn't even have color pencils as a child.
mm,
I never knew what a computer looked like. I never knew what a world map or a map looked like. I didn't have plastic toys. I didn't have any toys. I played with soil and sticks. That was how basic it was. And then I used paper and pencil to draw my doll
oh,
instead of plastic doll, right? And I used paper and scraps fabrics to play fashion designing. That's how I
mm,
design my clothes with a piece of paper or scraps of fabric. So it
wow.
was very basic. There was no one to ask me, what do you want to be
Mhm.
when you grow up? I did not know to answer that. But I did know in my mind, because as a little kid, as a child, as a girl, all I wanted was a dress, right?
Mm.
Now, I never had new clothes when I was little. It was always forever hand me downs because I had 8 brothers and sisters above me.
Wow. So you're the last one?
I'm
You're the
I'm the
youngest?
second last one of the
Okay.
10 kids, five
Wow.
boys and 5 girls.
Wow.
And so I never had new clothes, right? But I just wish, as any girl does, to have a dress. With that is what imprinted in my mind that I wanted to make beautiful dresses. Now I didn't have the vocabulary at the time until after I come to Australia. Then I realized it's called fashion designer. So that's what I wanted to be, to answer your question. When I was
Amazing.
5 years old, I wanted to be a fashion designer, specifically designing evening dresses. And that's how eventually I did study fashion design and I did start my bridal boutique
Mm.
24 years ago in Sydney, Australia. So I helped brands design their gowns and I won awards. My design was in wedding magazines and it was an incredible journey. That was my first baby
Wow.
before my biological baby, before the book, before Three Hearts, before Coachable.
Wow. What a story. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing
Okay,
that.
sure.
Wow. So, growing up, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
Oh, wow, that's an interesting story. It's a love and scared, not hate. It was this love and yearning for learning, and yet I got really scared. The reason being is that back then teachers hold a cane to
Oh, yes.
catch naughty kids, right? And so every day I go to school, I get so scared. I get so scared. I didn't learn anything because when your mind is in a stress mode, it's not relaxed. You cannot learn anything. All I wanted to do is to be a really good girl. Don't make any mistakes. Don't cause any trouble, so I don't get the cane in the hand. Because
Mm.
not only is physical pain, but it was also shame. I don't want to
Yes.
bring shame to my parents, shame to myself that I'm the naughty kid, you know? And so, yeah, to answer your question, it was a lot of fear, fear of, so-called coloring out of the line, fear of making
Mm.
mistake, fear of being the naughty child, being punished. But deep inside, I have this deep yearning for learning. I love learning. And that's why the first thing you ask me, what makes me happy, is learning. And
Mm.
that's probably because I didn't have enough as a child. It's like making up making up time. But truthfully, anytime I learn anything new, I'm so happy. I'm so happy when I learn something new.
Love that. Wow. What was your favorite subject in school?
Oh, now remember back then we didn't have so many subjects as such.
Yes.
I don't recall like as much as these days, you have textile design, computing, all of these fancy things. Now, I'm talking about in Vietnam, right?
Mm.
I didn't have much choices. But after we come to Sydney, Australia, I love fashion design. Of course,
Mm.
that's one of my subject. The other thing that I like is food technology. We call it food technology now, but back then it was called home science.
Cooking?
So, cooking, home science, cooking. So
Ah,
we
love that.
study the science part of the food, the molecules and stuff like that.
Nutrition.
But it's nutrition, and
Wow.
it's called home cooking because the first people that you serve, the first time you do the cooking is at home, right? So back then it's called home cooking. Now it's called food technology.
Wait,
So
that was in
back in
Vietnam? That was in Vietnam or Australia?
no, no, in Sydney, Australia. After I come to Sydney, Australia. In
Wow.
Vietnam, I didn't have any of these choices, right? In Vietnam, it was really basic. It was just like, reciting the poems, your basic language, your basic maths. It wasn't much back then. But after I come to Sydney, the subjects that I like is fashion design and food technology.
Wow.
Those are my two favorites. Yes.
I don't recall when I went to school in France and Canada. I don't recall they teaching us about home technology, like for example, cooking. That was not in
Mm.
our curriculum. But interesting.
Oh, I see. I see.
How old were you when you left Vietnam? Do you remember what's your memory? What do you remember of your first few years in Vietnam?
First fears in Vietnam
First
is
few,
I
not
don't,
fears, not fears. First few years.
oh, first few years. Okay, the first few years is I just remember that all the stories my mom and dad tell me. And my mom would tell me some amazing magical stories.
Mm,
And that's why I grew up with magic. My life is
mm,
really magical. Many things happen really amazing. Right? I was born with minimal resources, but then I have been able to achieve every single dream I have so far. And so along the journey, there's many magical moments. And it's just incredible, right? But the memory that I remember, I just remember that my mom and dad had a grocery store,
mm.
right? They're the corner shop grocery store. And back then, the rice was in big bales, big bags, like, 10, 20 kilos, like 10, no, sorry,
Yeah.
even bigger, even like 50 kilos. Like they're
Wow.
really big, big bags, bales,
Mm.
around potato sacks. Yeah. So I just remember that in the house, there's stacks of those rice. And my dad would go and donate it when people need it.
Oh, wow.
And then the kids, me and my brothers, we would play. The modern days, we call it crops and robbers, robbers and crops, right? But back then, you would not believe this, but then you will understand why. What we play is like the soldiers guarding the country, and so it just that's what we grew up with. Isn't it great? Isn't
That's
it amazing,
amazing.
incredible?
Wow.
I know,
Wow.
because we didn't have plastic toys.
Sure, sure,
We
sure,
didn't
sure.
have plastic toys. We play hide and seek amongst those bags of rice. Just, yeah, this is interesting now that you asked that, actually.
Yeah. How was it growing up with so many brothers and sisters?
Oh, because life back then was basic.
Yeah.
So we didn't have too much of dynamics in terms of personality.
Mm-hmm.
Every things were quite orderly in a sense. So there was a lot of respect. And if you know from the Eastern world as well, you know the packing order, right? You
Yes.
know, the
Yes.
oldest one get the say, you know, and then the packing order comes. So because I'm the second last, I didn't have to talk much. Growing up, I was actually quite timid, quite shy, and very quiet. I barely talk. This is making up time. This is making up time because, you know, I get to share my story. But when I was little, I barely talk. My brothers, sisters, someone's always talking, and I was always listening. I was always listening. And add on top of it, the extra bonus is that I actually listened to the elders as well in the neighborhood. And that's why I grew up with a lot of collective wisdoms. And
Mm.
it certainly had served me really well. And I shared it in the book now as well that benefit other people. So yeah, growing up, I barely talk. I barely talk much. I was very, very quiet.
Among all of your siblings, which one growing up were you the closest to? And was there anyone that you were, I wouldn't say couldn't stand, but you were not on, you know what I mean? Always. For example, me growing up with my younger sister, we always used to fight, fight, fight. But then over the
Mm.
last few years, she's got an amazing spiritual awakening, and now we become the best friends. Before that,
Oh,
we
cool.
didn't have a relationship, but then since
Mm.
she had her awakening, now she's my best friend.
Oh,
For
that's
you,
lovely.
thank you. For you, was there any of your siblings growing up, especially as a little girl, that you were closer to, and others that you were not as close?
Yeah, we all do, right? Especially if
Yeah,
you have nine siblings, right? But
sure.
I'm just wondering, how does this serve the clients? But it's okay. It's good to share
It's about
stories.
getting to know you, your
Oh, okay, I
story, you
see.
know?
I see. I admire my elder sister.
Mm,
She was my role model.
mm,
She also barely talk. And because it's relating to me, because I barely talk, right? She was this beautiful, elegant lady, barely talk, barely get upset, nothing upsets her that I could remember. Always a gentle smile, very delicate, very sophisticated. So growing up, she was my role model. And the brother that I lean into, so called, right? It's my second oldest brother because at the age of 16, he was already out very streetwise. He was already out doing business,
mm.
running his own business. So I was kind of like always leaning to, you know, have an eye looking out for him that what the thing he does, you know, it's like someone inspires you, right? So I got a role model and I got a motivator, inspiration. But the closest is naturally the last three kids. Myself, I'm the second youngest, and my youngest sister,
Mm,
and the youngest boy of the five. So we're the three youngest. Naturally, we relate to each other more.
of course.
But then I am also I'm also very vibing really well with my middle brother, the third brother. The third brother and I used to always play games, and even now we share the same journey in the coaching industry. You know, he loves my book, he read my book, and you would not believe this. He stunned me when he told me that he read my book 400 pages. Now, English is not our first language, all right? And he speaks English okay, but not as fluent as me. And so I did not expect that he can read the book in two sittings. So I'm
Wow.
so super humble and proud. Um, yeah, I'm proud of him. You know, the fact that, you know, he could do it and he did it. And I'm so humble because, you know, he's my older brother and he loved my work. And he just,
Sure.
it was just really heartwarming when he shared with me that literally as a reader, right? And he shared that, Linda, when I read other people's book, they just share the theory, they just share the teaching, and that's it. It's up to you whether you take it on or not. But when
Mm,
I read your book, you're really an author that really care. You
mm,
didn't just teach the theory or share the teaching. You really care and you really want us to embrace the learning and take it on. And it was just like so heartwarming and so humbling to hear it from your bigger brother, you know?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
what a bonus that I get to share such a personal thing.
Hey, it's beautiful. This is what it's all about because as I said,
I never get to share such personal
I want to
things
know
with
Linda
other
first
podcasts.
as a human being, as a woman before the business lady. You know what I mean? Wow.
Yeah, I've been on podcast since 2016, before my book was even
Yeah.
published, right? Because that's because of my life story,
Sure.
how I achieved every single dream I had. And so, yeah, this is lovely. This is lovely. A very different take, different perspective, different angle.
Exactly. That's why it's called Leaders with a Heart, because I want to
Exactly.
know you. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for opening up your heart. But I want to go a bit deeper. So, do you remember how old were you when you and your family you left Vietnam to Australia?
Mm. Yeah, I was 14, yet turned 15. So I turned 15 here.
How did you guys leave?
Oh, we came as immigrants. So I came on a plane.
Mm,
My sister came earlier in the 70s and she was the refugee. She came on a boat. She was
mm,
the boat people, right? And then after she settled, then she sponsored us. So I came as a second class. She was saying, "You're so lucky. You get to come on a plane. I got to squash like a sardine, on the boats." So I
wow.
came on a plane. But the funny thing is that I used to have motion sickness.
Mm,
Even in Vietnam, I couldn't get on the tram, on the bus, not a tram, like a little mini bus. I couldn't go anywhere, right? I literally was grounded in a corner of my own home because of the motion sickness. The
mm,
only thing I could get on is the sit low, right? So after I come to Sydney, Australia, I couldn't get in a car. I
mm.
had to walk to school a whole hour long, whether
Oh,
it's sunny, hot, because in Sydney, summer could get really hot.
sure.
And in rainy season, it could get really wet. One day I get to school, I was all soaking wet. So when I was little in Vietnam, I didn't go anywhere much. So
Mm,
on the plane coming to Sydney, I held nothing down. I have a sip of orange juice, it had to come back up. So it was very tough. It was very tough on the plane coming here. I was so sick. By the time we had a stopover in Thailand, I was like a really sick child. My poor mom has to go and trade to get some condensed milk for me to drink because I couldn't keep anything down.
wow.
And after I come here, still for months, I could not get on a car or bus. It was, yeah, it was a really tough journey. I'm laughing at myself now because I've overcome it.
Good.
But at
Good.
the time, it was really tough. It was really,
Imagine.
really tough. Yeah.
So you said your older sister came first on a boat, and then there's other family. So now, are all of your siblings in Australia with you? You still have some of them back in Vietnam.
We still have three in Vietnam. They never could come. My elder sister, my older brother, and the second brother.
Okay.
They still in Vietnam because they already married, have their own
Sure.
family.
Sure.
Whereas the sister who came first sponsor all of us under her care because we were still young. We were not married. We were under 21. And
Mm,
that was the rule that, you can
sure.
sponsor family for reunion if they're under
Mm,
21, not an adult yet.
sure.
Yes.
Sure. So how how challenging was for you to adapt to a new country and you learn a new language, a new culture? Tell us about your experience in the first few months, few years in Australia.
It was total lost. It
Mm,
was total lost and overwhelmed because I didn't speak a word of English.
sure.
I didn't have friends.
Mm,
If you could imagine, I can't even get on the bus, right? It was like overwhelming, lost. Those are the two words,
hmm.
right? Um, I think I can only do it this way. I can only say, close your eyes. I'm going to teleport you to Mongolia, for example,
Or
right?
China, for example.
Yeah, well, no, China is still quite modern, like
Ah,
somewhere further than,
mm,
Kazakhstan somewhere, right? That it's just no TV, color TV, no YouTube, no Facebook, no email, right? Um, None of the thing that you used to, right? That was me. I grew up with black and white TV, black and white photos, never had color pencils, never been in a car, couldn't get on a bus, get motion sickness. And suddenly I was here. It was overwhelmed. It was
Mhm.
very, very overwhelming. And I didn't speak the language. So there was a lot of facial expressions and hand gestures, and that's how I got by. And everywhere I go, I would hold a little dictionary so that I can look up the words. What does it mean?
Mm. Wow, that's fantastic because I can relate with that. I can relate with that. When we moved to Canada, I didn't speak any English. It was very tough for
Mm,
me. Plus, if you add to that coming from a warm country to a place where in October starts to snow, by November yet very
wow.
cold, I was
Mm,
depressed.
yes,
I
yes.
was quite a few nights I was literally crying and wishing I could
Yeah.
go back to France. But
Wow.
wow, incredible, incredible. So back to Australia when you were in school. Imagine that we were in the same. Imagine that we were in the same class in grade 10, 11. What kind of a student, what kind of girl were you back then? Were you still the shy and quiet one, you nerdy one? Were you the superstar, the cheerleader, the life of the party? What kind of student were you back then?
I wish I could say that. I was always quiet, barely speak, because I still didn't know much English yet, but I was always smiling.
Mm,
And my smile invited a lot of friends.
sure.
And so the friends will feel comfortable to hang around with me, or they will always invite me to go along with them.
Hmm.
But I barely speak. I barely speak. I was always observing. I was always very friendly. I was always, I don't know. I think I spoke with my smile.
That's a
Now
good.
that you ask me.
Was it easy for you to integrate, to make friends, to just have a normal life?
Yeah, it was hard in a sense of getting by and
Mm,
communicate with people and getting used to the culture, right?
mm-hmm.
Say, for example, when I first came in Vietnam, we used to wave people this way,
Oh,
right?
okay,
But
okay.
yeah, this way, right? But here they don't. Here they do it this way, right? So when I do it this way, I got told off. I got told, what are you doing? I'm not a dog. Why do you wave at me like this? This is waving to the dog. So
Wow.
it would be things like that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And long time ago, we didn't have to think like what we have now. What we have now is Harmony Day, Multicultural Day, educating people, celebrating different cultures, all in harmony. Whereas back then, it was all separated.
Mm.
It was like ching chong in one group, excuse the term, because that's what happened back then, right?
So all
Ching chong
Asians
in
we put
one
in
group.
Ching Chong category.
No, 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 like Chinese
All
in one
Asians, yeah,
group.
Asians. Okay.
Yeah, one group, and so Europeans one group. Everyone was quite separated, and
Mm.
so it was difficult. It was like a lot of challenges navigating all these things like this, the cultural difference, the meaning, the language, all of that. But apart from that, it was very easy for me to mingle with everyone because I have this natural curiosity that I love to learn, and I get curious about other people, other countries, because remember, we didn't have color TV, we didn't have Facebook, internet, right? So for me, it was fascinating. Now all of a sudden, I get to meet people with blonde hair, brown hair, red hair, blue eyes, green eyes. So I was naturally very curious. And because of that, when you have curiosity, you become very patient. You wanted to
Mm.
listen, and because I was a listener, if anytime, anywhere you go around the world, even if you don't speak the language, if you're willing to listen, you're a welcome audience,
Sure.
right? So, so that's why I was always welcome, whichever friend group that I go to. And also because I generally, normally, I sometimes I don't even remember I smile. It's just my nature. And so
Mm.
therefore, my smile nature also make it welcoming, and so it was very easy for me to make friends. And so, in fact, my first best friends, besides a friend from the ESL class, English as your second language, I
Mm-hmm.
had to go to that class for the first 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So that first class, my best friend, who's still friend now, 40 years later, isn't it amazing? She's also like me, Vietnamese Chinese. So we have
Okay.
Chinese background ancestors, but we were born in Vietnam. But then the very next best friend in my high school was from Brazil.
Wow.
I was only this, I was really the only girl, the only Chinese that's always friends with international friends. Because usually, all of the people tend to gravitate back to their own ethnic groups back then, right? But I was the only one who's like circling around all different
Curious. Yeah.
nationality. Yeah, yeah. Even when I go to work, it was always I'm the only Chinese or Asian or whatever you want to call black
Mm.
hair with all the Caucasians. And
Wow.
so to answer your question, I made friends very easily.
Mm.
And it was very easy for me to fit in because I didn't talk. That means I'm not fighting for the attention, right? I didn't fight for the competition of attention. I was always listening and I was always interested in what everyone's doing. And so it was very easy for me to fit into everyone.
Wow, fascinating. Thank you for sharing. Speaking of that, when you were in school in Australia, were you
Mm.
popular with the boys?
Oh. Oh. Yeah, yes, I was. Yes, I
Ah,
was.
okay,
Always
okay.
getting the love letters, the secret messages.
Really? Wow,
And like,
okay.
though he would be too shy to give it to me directly. Back then in the 80s, right? In the 80s
Yes,
time,
yes, yes.
it was like a friend passed to a friend, passed to a friend,
My
and then
friend
finally
likes
it
you,
reaches.
my friend
Yeah,
likes you.
yeah.
Which friend? And then you thought it's actually that person that actually likes you?
And the cutest thing is the first boy who sent the first message, he actually bought a silver bangle. Now that you ask, a
Wow.
silver bangle, and he wrapped it in a piece of paper with his message. And it traveled 2 friends before it gets to me. So it's really cute. So, yes, even though I was quiet, I was always getting a lot of boys' attention, but not the loud, rowdy kind of
Mm,
thing. It was always a secret admirer, the quiet
the
messages, because
nerd
I'm
one.
quiet by myself,
Yeah.
right?
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, do you remember what was your very first job? And you remember how much you get paid the first time you worked?
Oh dear, dear, dear. Oh, okay. Let me tell you. Let me
Please
tell
go
you.
ahead.
The very first job, I would have been about 7 years old in Vietnam.
Seven. Holy smoke. Wow.
Yes, yes. My first entrepreneurship, I was a business owner at the age of 8. Oh my God.
Hey,
You asked the amazing questions that I have
thank
not
you. I
shared in
appreciate that.
any interview. This is the first interview that I share all these stuff that I never shared in
Hey,
any interview.
that's why it's called Leaders with a
When
Heart. Getting to know you.
Exactly, right? So my father, at first, when I was much younger, he had the grocery store, which I shared with you earlier. Then much later in the 70s, it transitioned, after the 60s, 70s, it transitioned into he sell wood for fire, for
Oh,
home cooking fire, the wood, the chopped wood,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So every morning at 3 a.m., he will go to do the auctioning and they get lots of wood to speak, like really big lots of wood, right? And then he will bring it back, and the guys, my 5 brothers, will use the eggs, will smash to split it vertically into smaller pieces. And then they will bundle up into a smaller bundle, and we sell it to the home used for cooking, the wood
Mm.
fire for cooking. So I would be the one who's sitting there collecting money, right?
You're the cash. Okay, the cash.
I was a cash
Okay.
dealer. I was always put 2 pocket full of cash. So I was lucky, right? They do the hard work. The boys have to do the hard work. I just collect the cash.
Good.
So that was starting at about 6, 7 years old. We start really early back then in Vietnam.
Mhm.
Even now, when I go back to Vietnam, I see some kids still have
Yes,
family do that.
I
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, so you would see that because you're in Vietnam now. Then when I was 8 years old, this story, I just love it so much. I still tell my daughter every now and then. When I was 8 years old, one day I decided I want to be a merchandiser, right?
Oh.
I saw these aunts, these grandmas, they carry their merchandise, right? They sell, right? And then one of the grandma in my neighborhood, she just had this basket, a weaving basket, those vine woven basket
Mhm.
hanging on the ceiling. It just hangs on the ceiling, and she just put biscuits in there, right? And then when the neighborhood kids come, give her some coins, she pull the basket down, she sell them a biscuit. I thought that is so cute. I want to be able to do the same. So the next day I decided I had equivalent to like 50 cents.
This
I
is
don't
for
know.
what, per hour, per day, per week?
No. This is the biscuit. This is the amount
Ah,
of money I have, right? I
okay.
had I had a little coin equivalent to us 50 cents. Back then, like now in Vietnam, maybe I don't know, one dong, one dong. Back
Not
then,
even
very
50
little.
cents. 50 cents is literally 12,500 dongs. 50
No,
cents.
but back then it wasn't that
Oh,
much.
okay, okay.
Back then it was like really little pocket money. It's
Okay.
like a few dongs, I don't know, 5 dongs,
Okay, okay, okay.
no more than 5 dongs, just
And
very,
back
very
then you guys
little
were still
money.
using the dong, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. So I was 8 years old, right? I had this little pocket money. I woke up like all adults do. Like back then, people wake up at 3 o'clock. My father wakes up at 3 o'clock every day to go to
Yes.
work.
Even today.
So then,
Families wake up early,
yes,
yes.
I woke up at 5 o'clock. I walk with my little feet to the market, to the wholesaling store. This store wholesales biscuits, confectionery, whatnot to all the other people to bring it home or to the market to resell it. I rock up there. I waited patiently, quietly, didn't say a word for my turn. The lady couldn't turn me away because it's supposed to be wholesale. I only have very little money. I give her my money and I pointed to my favorite biscuit. And this biscuit is like so little. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
like a round coin, and it's packed together by mung bean. You know the mung bean, the yellow bean,
Okay, yeah.
the mung bean that they cook and they mash it. It's like a mashed potato, but it's
Mm-hmm.
beans. They
Mm-hmm.
mash it together into a coin, right? Okay, and they pack it together, a packet like about 10 in each packet. I loved that biscuit as a child. I just loved it. So I point to that biscuit and I give her the coin, and she would sell it to me at the wholesale price. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
It's because of my self respect. I
Mm.
treated myself like any of those retailers.
Mm-hmm.
I am now a business girl. I was still a girl, I wasn't a woman, but I treat myself like a business owner. I didn't think that I'm just a child. She's not going to look at me. She's not, no, I didn't have any of those. I never have any of self doubt, right? But I have so much quiet self respect. I wouldn't say confidence. I wasn't a confident child, right? I wouldn't say that word, but I had a lot of self respect that
Mm.
I just give myself the equal opportunity as anybody, any adult. I am there the same as everyone, a business person. So I pointed to that biscuit. I give her the money. She sold it to me. I go home. I sell it to the kids in the neighborhood. I make some money. The next day, I go back and do the same.
Buy more, yes.
I buy I buy the same one packet for about 3 or 5 days. Then I started. So each day I make some money. You see, each day I make at least, I don't know, 30% at least back then. So after about 5 days or so, I started to be able to buy the second packet.
Mm.
Now I have grown from one packet to 2 packets of biscuits. I keep doing that. After a few months, I have a table full of biscuits. By now, I am a true business owner.
You biscuit queen, eh?
I now have my own little store of biscuits and
Wow.
confectionery. And I keep growing. Then eventually I had enough money to buy new fabric to make my own new set of clothing. And that was a big deal. That was a big deal because all these years I wear hand-me-downs.
Mm.
That's number one point. Point number two is that to be able to buy new fabric and make clothing, it was luxury. It was by now, yeah. So I was so super proud. I was able to buy new fabric and my sister make the new clothes for me. I was, by now, you can use the word confidence. By now, I become the confident, quiet girl. So there you go. What a long way to answer your question.
What a beautiful story. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So when you were going, when you first went to that market, waiting
Mm.
patiently and silently your turn, were your parents supportive of you, or they were telling you, why are you doing this? Go to school, stay home, help us.
My
How were they?
parents was amazing. You
Okay.
could say perhaps because they have 10 kids, right? They're too busy, or simply they are just so what's the right word to say? I feel like my parents are ahead of their time.
Mm.
They didn't have the parenting style that the usual Eastern world has.
Mm.
Do what I tell, don't do this, don't know, watch what I do and copy they didn't have any of those. They didn't
Beautiful.
have any of those. The truth is they didn't even know I did that.
Wow.
It was that much freedom that I had. Everyone was busy with their part, their chores, their routine. And I just feel comfortable enough to go and do it, not thinking that I would be in trouble, not thinking that my parents would question me. Obviously, they don't. That's why I was comfortable enough to go and do it. And so, yeah, it was incredible journey.
Beautiful.
And
So,
it's
sorry, go
sorry,
ahead.
you go.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it is my parents, the way they raised me, that
Wow.
got me to who I am today,
Love
with
that.
the abundance mindset, the open mindset, the lifelong learning mindset. It's all of these qualities that I inherited from them that helped me to become who I am today. That
Beautiful.
I was able to give through three hearts before I even earn. A lot of people will say you got to earn it first before you give. But my whole life, with my parents modeling, they were always giving. Now remember, in 30 years war, you almost have nothing to give,
Sure.
right? But they were always still helping people. They were always still giving. Anyone come to them, they would always help.
Love that.
And so, yes.
So, I absolutely love that. How are these qualities that you learned by the blessings of your parents that give you full freedom and because they trusted you at that early age? How are those qualities been instrumental in you when you moved to Australia, when you started going to school and become a young woman? How have those qualities helped you to shape yourself and help you to really to start bigger businesses?
Two two words, three sounds. Three. It's okay.
I love that. It's okay.
It's okay. It's what I remember, because that's how my mom carried herself through life. We face so much challenges, right? But her mannerism, her attitude, it's okay. It's okay. So even though I was very anxious,
Mm,
stressed, overwhelmed, in the back of my mind, always echo her sound. Her advice always echo in the back of my mind that it's okay. Whatever I was going through is okay.
mm,
Whether I had extra money or not, whether I can speak or not, whether I make friends or not, it doesn't matter what I'm facing. It's okay. It's going to be okay. And with those simple words, that simple phrase, it actually has allowed me to live in an abundance mindset instead of a scarcity mindset. And what that means is that a scarcity mindset is when you're constantly worried. I don't have enough of this. I don't have enough language. I don't have enough skills. And so I like it's just never enough. You're not tall enough. You're not big enough. You're not smart enough. Right? Whereas it's okay allows me to say, it's okay. I can do this. I have this. I can
mm,
make use of this. I can make this work. It's okay. It's a simple phrase like that has allowed me to live in an abundance mindset, so called, instead of worry and scarcity and, all of those. But it's like reassurance, reaffirming, you're right. Take one step at a time. Don't have to worry too much. It's amazing. It's powerful. That's why I share with parents when I first started as a parenting coach. That's why I share with parents that parenting is generational. It's not just here now. If anyone who's listening and you're a parent, even if you're aunt and uncle, whatever you say to the kids
mm-hmm,
is generational, because what they have imparted on me now, I pass on to my kids, and my
mm,
kids will pass on to their kids. So that's why, as parents, we need to be so conscious of the things we say and do. Who would have thought just 2 words, 3 words, it's okay, would have such a big impact that paved way for me for the rest of my life, for everything that I do. that literally changed the trajectory of my life, of the outcome of my life. And with that, I was able to achieve every single dream I have so far. Don't
Hmm.
you think that's amazing? Isn't that incredible?
Oh,
So
it's life changing. It's transformational. This is incredibly important because
exactly.
every study says that the first 7 years of a child's life are the most important because that's where they form all of their habits,
Mm,
their character, personality, the beliefs, whether they're limiting beliefs or the opposite, which are like empowering beliefs. So wow, it's incredible that your parents understood that despite being living in a humble environment plagued by war, but still they were able to uh, to bless you with the right mental, tools
yes.
to become the best version of you. So this is absolutely
Yeah.
kudos to your
And
parents, and you
thank
mentioned
you.
you're a coach. As a parent, the first coaching starts with actually your kids.
Exactly. Exactly. Leaders, you are the first leader of your kids. So you have to show by example. You have to lead by example, right? There's no point in telling all the theories, all the amazing things, but you're doing something completely different. The kids will just mimic you before they even realize. And so when you mentioned that my parents were going through all those tough times, my father, right, born in 1922,
Wow.
World War II. He's gone through World War II, Japanese War, all kinds of war, Vietnam War. After we came to Australia, there's the Gulf War. He's gone through so much stuff, right? And yet, at the age of 98, he was still joking. He
Amazing.
was still, I know, I know. So I am just like so blessed to be born into this couple, these parents. I'm not saying it just because they're my parents. They're really incredible human being. And I'm forever in debt and forever grateful to them.
Linda, this is so beautiful. And that's something I'm also realizing it is that when we're growing up, kids, we don't see eye to eye sometimes with the parents. At time we can even hate them for not letting us do what we want to do. We become rebellious. But then with wisdom, with age, when we look back, we say, wow, they were the best parents possible because they raised us, at least for me, and I'm sure for you as well, in an environment that was very rich in love and support. They instilled in you all the values you needed to help you go and become the person you meant to be. My parents, honestly, I couldn't have selected better parents. And I'm
Mm,
sure the same for you. You
mm,
mentioned coaches. You said kids are say, we are the first coaches of our kids. And I would add to that, not only the
mm,
first coaches, but the most important coaches of our kids, because
mm.
what we instill in them,
Yeah.
that's going to determine who they become. And
Yeah, we're the kids' first teachers and first leaders.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a parent's responsibility to really, by raising, meaning to
Mm,
really coach their kids to become
mm.
empowered, to empower them, not bring them down.
No.
And let's not outsource our job to others, especially not to schools or whatever, because they
Or
sometimes,
nannies,
yeah, they
or
can have not the
nannies,
best
or
interest.
babysitters,
No,
right?
no, 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 no.
Right.
Um,
So,
yeah, go ahead.
no, you go, you go.
Yeah, sorry, sorry.
I was just going to say that it does take a village to raise a child, right? No doubt. No doubt that there are times we have to lean into our families, our relatives to lend a hand, right? Or,
Hmm.
or the nannies or the helpers, right? I know someone who is literally being raised up by her nanny because her parents were overseas, right? But if anytime we can, right, even distantly, you can still make calls these days, right? Even distantly, it's so important to be the child's
Mm,
first point of contact whenever
yeah.
possible because they need us, right? We're the one who bring them into this world. And
Mm.
so we have sole responsibility for their well-being and mainly for their mental and emotional well-being as well as physical well-being, of course. Yes.
Absolutely. Love that. Love that. Love that. And then I can see that you mentioned that raising kids is generational. I'm sure that you've passed on the same values to your kids and they will pass it on to their kids. Speaking of kids, before we even go further, how did you meet your husband?
Oh, This is very personal interview here. We met through a uni friend. His
Okay.
uni friend, I did share it in the book too, actually. We met through his uni friend and my Saturday school friend.
Okay.
So our mutual friend was my Chinese class friend. So I was in the Chinese class with her. And then after high school, that was the last year of high school in year 12. After high school, she went back to Hong Kong
Mm.
and she met her man there. And they were about to get married. But before she get married, she came back to Sydney because her parents over here. She came back to Sydney and have a reunion with her uni friends before the big day, to announce her big day, and to have a reunion before she get married. And after she get married, she know that she's going to live there for a long time. And that was the reason for the reunion. And at that time, she invited all her uni friends. I was the only swan out of the whole group. um, I was the only high school friend, interestingly. And so that's where I met him.
Beautiful. So, what made you realize that is different than the others and that is the one?
Oh my God, it's so funny how you asked that. So we both simultaneously think that he's the one, she's the one. So when
Wow.
he first met me, later he told me that, the minute I met you, I know I was going to marry you. And
Wow.
when I first met him, it just instinctively, I just thought, yeah, I think he's the one. I think it's because we both are quiet by nature, right? We both are quiet by nature. And all these time, I have so many guys after me, like they are a lot more chatty, more bubbly, more extrovert. And so, when suddenly you have someone completely different, it takes your attention, right? And then also it gives you a different, more reassuring feeling, right?
Mhm.
Because all these other guys are so proactive and active in going after the girls, then it naturally makes you think, oh, does that mean they do that to every girl, right? And so when it's time come along that he was just so quiet and we kind of like just exchange eye contact, so it made it really different. And so it kind of like have this reassuring feeling
Mm.
that he was a bit more, like humble, more mature, had more humility, that kind of thing.
Would you say that you saw yourself in him because he was also quiet, humble, maybe shy, as opposed to all the
Interesting
more
that you said that.
outgoing
Interesting that
guys?
we
Yeah.
always do. We always do because that's human psychology, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see someone mirroring yourself, and so you
Yes.
find comfort in that, right? So yeah, absolutely. I would say so too. Yes, yes.
Wow. What would you say is the number one advice you would give to someone to make to get their relationship to really succeed and last the test of time?
Oh wow, that is the biggest question. This
Hmm.
is this is like the second biggest question that I ever get asked. One time I got an interview. The minute I show up in the interview, someone would just ask me, I am in Middle East and the war is happening. How can I find happiness? And now
Mm.
you're asking for forever happiness. Well, you know that there's like about 50% of divorce rate now, right? So to answer a question like that, I take a lot of caution, right? So what I'm about to share is, of course, is just general as
Mm.
can be, and I'll share some insight. But at the same time, if anyone is going through relationship troubles, I just want to acknowledge it first, right?
Mm.
I just want to acknowledge in advance that if anyone is listening and you're going through relationship troubles, please know you're not the only one. 50% are going through the same thing, right?
Mm.
And even the other 50% who's not going through divorce, none of the relationship is safe from non-conflicts, non-argument. That's unrealistic because as human beings, we all have our own dynamics of personality, our own temperament, right? And no two people are the same. Even twins, they still fight sometimes. So I just want to get that out of the way first so that no one feels bad or in any way,
Mm.
that you all acknowledge we all are human beings and we all going through the same thing. No one's exempted. I guarantee you, no
Mm.
one's exempted, right? On top of that, more and more people are realizing now that the happy ever after is not realistic. There
Mm.
is truly no happy ever after, as in the Cinderella tales or whatever story. I feel like we need to rewrite those children's story books,
Mm.
right? So I'm not trying to be negative. I don't want to be cynical, but I just want to be realistic. We just know that happily ever after, it's very, very rare. I do have people who have that. My parents celebrated 50th anniversary, but it's still with a lot of struggles and
Mhm.
challenges, right? So please ask your question again now that I got that out of the way.
So the question is, what's the number one advice you would give to someone? Let's say you're talking right now, to put it in perspective. Let's say you're talking you say you have two kids. To your kids, uh, what advice would you give them in terms of selecting the right person and what do they need to do to make it work and last the test of time? Just like you've done it successfully, your parents before you, and so on and so on.
So to last the test of time is where I've got to be take caution, right? To last the test of time is asking someone to never change,
Mm,
always be the way you are, and it's unrealistic
sure.
because if someone's like that and you're like that, that means you both never grow, and you both
Mm,
become very boring people, right? So to last the test of time needs some redefining meaning. It needs some redefining meaning. I wouldn't use the word to last test of time, but to grow together infinitely,
yes, yes,
to
yes.
grow together in the same direction. Because every day we all learn something new, whether we want it or not, whether we realize or not, whether it's positive or negative. Sadly, some people learn negative stuff and it holds them back and they go a different direction.
Mm,
So instead of saying the last the test of time, but how to grow together on the same trajectory,
mm,
because many relationship breaks up because they grow separately and in separate directions, right? And so how do you meet someone, find someone so that you can grow together on the same direction? It's all about having an open mindset.
mm.
If you first have an open mindset, then you can meet someone with an open mindset. But if you don't have an open mindset, you cannot expect others to do this, to do that,
Sure.
right? If you want to find a partner that is so good for yourself, you've got to be that partner first for the other person.
Become the dream
It's
person
so
yourself.
easy.
Yes.
It's so
Mhm.
easy for us to judge other people, to tick, tick, tick. He's got this, he's good looking, blah, blah, blah. But what about ourselves? We got to look at ourselves first. So the step number one is to have self-awareness,
Mm,
to have self-awareness and to be constantly learning about yourself and growing yourself, to be the better version of yourself every day. Now notice I don't say the best version of yourself. I don't say that because if you're already the best version of yourself, you will no longer need to grow. So it is the better version of yourself every single day. If you could do that, then you can be open to say, I also aspire to meet someone who have that quality, who also aspire to learn and grow. That is step number two. Number one, grow yourself. Number two, look for someone who's open mindset, have a growth mindset so that
mm,
you can grow together. Number three, whatever you learn, try to share with each other. If you can't share with each other, you can't grow together. If you can't grow together, you will grow separately. And that's how separation happens. When
wow.
you grow together, you're able to exchange ideas. You're able to say, if you have an open mindset, right? You would say, for example, I would say, this is like that. And then you say, no, I don't think so. I think this is different like that. Now, if we both don't have a growth mindset, I would just say, no, forget about your point of view. I'll stick with mine. And you would say, no, I'll stick with mine. So then, therefore, there's no compromise. There's no coming in the middle. There's no such thing as agree to disagree. It's
Mm.
impossible to agree with everything. If anybody who wants to agree with everything, it won't work either
Just like in
because you
coaching.
don't
Just like in coaching.
because you don't challenge each other to grow, and there's
Yes, yes,
no
yes.
variations, there's no
Mm,
dynamics, there's no newness, it will die very quickly.
mm,
But if you could grow together and be open and say, I see what you mean, but I think I will still think this way more. Or, oh, okay, I see what you mean. This time, I agree. I'll come over. And the next time I go, no, I think you need to come over and see my point of view. Do you know what I mean? You need to have this cha-cha dance, one step forward, two steps backward, and then you mingle and you throw and you need to be able to do that. Then you can have a forever growing relationship.
I love that.
And then you can grow together. Whether it's last a test of time or not goes back to your open mindset. If or any time, any moment in time, you stop growing, you say, nah, that's it. I don't want to learn anymore. I'm the master now. I know everything. That's when you stop growing. And the minute you stop growing, you won't last the test of time because evolution, human evolution, we're constantly changing. We everything new now with AI and everything, right? We are constantly on the continuum of growth and change and evolve. And the
Mm,
minute you stop learning, you will already not last the test of time. So how can you expect the other person, and on top of that, a unity, a team, it will be super harder. So I would not use the word last the test of time in relationship, but how to grow and infinitely grow with
wow,
time, with the evolution of humanity.
that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. This is absolutely gold. I'm glad this is recorded. And thank you so much. I appreciate that. Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you. Wow, that was beautiful, Linda. Absolutely pure gold. Love my the conversation we've had so far. And this is, you know what? This is just the beginning. There's so much more that we can unpack. So let's call it a day for today. This is end of part one. Absolutely love it. We're gonna schedule another one for next week for part two. So if someone wants to connect with you, Linda, what's the best way to find you?
Yes, you can connect with me on LinkedIn or on Facebook, but mainly go to Coachable. Okay. Coachable spells COA on the screen. You can see COACHJABLE. Sign up. You can sign up for free to join my community, right?
Mhm.
And you can email me at linda@lindaduong.com.au or coachable@gmail.com.
Okay, and your website, coachable, is it .com?
Coachable.com.
.com. Okay, I'll put
Coachable.com.
that in
Yes.
the show note. Listen, Linda, absolute pleasure, honor talking to you. Love your story. Thank you for sharing your story, for opening up your heart, telling us about some very private things. I appreciate that. And I hope you had a good time as well sharing those. So thank you. I salute you. You truly do with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world. Your presence, your impact, your wisdom, your gifts. Always remember, you yourself, Linda, you're a beautiful gift. Embrace it loud and proud and share it even loud and proud around you and around the world. So stay safe, stay awesome. Until next time, God bless you. Take care. Have a fantabulous
Thank
day.
you.
Cheers.
Bye.